Welcome. Well, today's day 240 of my 365-day commitment. I'll have more on this in another video, but the 365 commitment is basically a commitment I made 240 days ago to do the same thing every day, to build a new, better habit. The habit was basically to wake up every morning and write a list of what I felt was the most important things for me to do today, and to pray about that list, and then to execute that list to the best of my ability. And at the end of the day, I would review that list and determine how I could do better the next day. Very simple program, but the habitual pattern of waking up every day and deciding exactly what I was going to do to change my life or to make the world a better place was a commitment I made to do 365 days in a row. And my thought was that if I could do that every day for 365 days in a row, I would have a significant improvement in my life. So that was what I decided to do 240 days ago. Now, in this 240-day process, there has been some dramatic changes in my life, and I'll talk about more in those in subsequent videos, in future videos. But for now, today's 240, and I've come across some revelations today that I think are pretty important. Been reading some material, and I've been kind of changing the way I view things. I started about, I would say 54 days ago. I started a meditation routine at night, basically to kind of shut the day down. I still do the prayer, and before I pray and review the list, I do a meditation routine to kind of clear my head and shut the day down. And I've been doing that now for 54 days in a row, and that thought process has got me to investigate the power of meditation more and more. And in so doing, I've been reading a lot of literature and scientific research about it. And one of the areas that I've been looking at is the fact that we are absolutely hardwired to get the results that we're getting today. What we do every day, our habitual patterns, our reactions to things, our reactions to people, our reactions to our environment, are both physically, mentally, spiritually, they're hardwired. They're hardwired by emotions and chemical reactions, but they're also hardwired in the way we expect things to be when we encounter a person or we encounter an event or a certain environment. You just have an expectation of the way that's going to be, and you create that. In fact, I can sense that myself. I'll need to go visit with an important client, or I'll need to go to a meeting with one of my employees or whatnot, and I'll have an expectation in my mind of what that's going to be like, and the expectation is based on previous emotion, previous experience, and it's almost a foregone conclusion of what that meeting is going to be like. So I've realized that hardwiring is very real. Well, 240 days ago, I had a hardwired reality, which was to wake up every morning and check my phone and look at the news and look at bad stuff going on in the world and to look at emails and text messages. And this is the first thing I did every day. And after I did that, I would go to the restroom or go to take a shower or go eat something. And I was eating bad things. I was lazily going about my morning with no real purpose or dedication to anything important. Just it was the habitual pattern, and of course, some mornings would change, and some mornings I had to run to the airport or whatnot, and on my way there, I would stop off at the gas station to get whatever I needed to eat along the way or whatnot. But I was always, following the same habitual patterns. When I'd go to the airport, I would be following that pattern, or when I stayed home, I'd follow that pattern, or whatever. So these habitual patterns cause emotional reactions, and those emotional reactions are not always good. Many times they cause stress, or they cause it's not even really that stressful. It's just a reaction that is stressful, and the stressful reaction can be bad. Even though, and I don't know if you felt this way before, but I've certainly felt this way. Sometimes I'm wondering, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? I mean, there's nothing really going on wrong. I mean, I don't have a problem right now. I mean, generally my life is pretty good, yet I have this horrible anxiety feeling or this emotional negative reaction, and I can't figure out why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. It's like, what the heck's going on? And so we have this tendency to believe that we have something chemically wrong with this, or that I have some mental disorder, and maybe I do. Maybe I have a genetic disposition to some sort of mental disorder. It's possible, but I think what it really is we have hardwired emotional reactions to certain environments and certain things, and we build that, we reinforce that with daily habitual patterns, and it's very difficult to break. Very difficult. In fact, we are perfectly designed to get exactly the results that we're getting right now. So whatever results you're getting right now, your health, your finances, your connections with other people, what you are doing right now on a day in, day out basis, you are perfectly designed to get that result. Now, you may wake up one day and decide to do something a little bit different. Like, let's say you have a bad relationship with a loved one. You may decide one day, Saturday morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do something different. I'm going to really try to help build my relationship better with that person. And that's one day you do that. But then the next day you fall back into your normal habitual pattern of maybe ignoring that person or not spending time with them or treating them harshly. Well, 364 days of treating somebody bad is never going to be overtaken by one day of doing something good. The habitual pattern is always going to be bad. Take like your weight or your health. 364 days of eating bad is always going to have a bigger impact than one day of eating great. It's just reality, right? It's a harsh reality. It's a difficult reality to understand. It's a difficult reality to want to understand because it's true. And it's just simple. If you wake up every day and you decide to go running every day, that will have a tremendous impact on your health. Now, you could argue with me that running every day is bad on your knees or whatever. You can make an argument that's bad, but you have to admit that 365 days of running every day is significantly better for your health than 365 days of sedentary lifestyle, of doing nothing, right? So consistent patterns of doing something better or doing something bad will always produce a reaction. So you are perfectly designed to get the result you're getting right now. So if you don't like the results you're getting now, then you got to break the hardwiring, because you are absolutely hardwired emotionally, physically, mentally to get what you're getting right now. So you also have pre-designed, pre-programmed emotional responses to things that you're doing. And that can be hard because you believe those emotional reactions are you. You believe those reactions are justified and correct because that's part of who you are. Well, you gotta admit to yourself that maybe part of who you are is just freaking messed up, right? Your emotional reaction to something could just be bad. Like, I have emotional reaction to finances, probably because of concerns and worries I had growing up. So I'm always panicked and worried about my financial health. And so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that I'm going to have a negative experience with my financial reporting. And now my finances are always a complete mess because I'm constantly worried about it, yet it's never getting better. I'm perfectly designed to get the exact results I'm getting. So I'm trying to break that hardwiring right now, and it's not easy. 54 days ago, along with my meditation, I decided to also add to change my pattern when it came to finances. Instead of waking up on a Saturday morning being grumpy as hell with my family because my finances are messed up again, and then spending all day long sitting and holed up in my office trying to figure out how to make the finances better, which is always an exercise in futility because I'm hopelessly behind all the time. Instead of doing that, I've decided to hardwire myself differently. And this is taking this is freaking this is like a rock and a chisel type of fashion to try to change the wiring in my personality. But I've decided every day to spend just a few minutes every day taking care of something of a financial nature, even if it's very small. But slowly, over this last 54 days, things have started to improve. I feel less stressed out about my bills now because you know what? Every day I look at it and I pay a few. Every day I look at it and I track my expenses a little bit now. Every day I look at it and I'm starting to catch things that I otherwise missed. I respond to that bill I got from a medical doctor who couldn't figure out my insurance or whatever the case may be. I get that reimbursement in that I was supposed to get in that I never did. All these little things that accumulate throughout a month or throughout a quarter that I've always ignored in the past because I have this mental, emotional block about finances. I'm now hardwiring myself to every day, even if it's only a minute, even if I'm spending 1 minute, I'm spending 1 minute in a positive reaction to my financial situation. Doing something to improve. 365 days of doing something to improve my finances is a whole lot better than 4 days throughout the year of locking myself in the room and trying to figure out all my financial mess, which always ends up producing stress. And then I have this very negative, emotional, stressful reaction the whole week, and nobody wants to be around me. So this is a hardwiring thing I'm trying to change, right? It's complex, it's hard, but you are hardwired to get what you want, what you're getting right now. So if you want to change the results, you got to change the wiring. And I've discovered that part of my 365 commitment here is I've discovered that part of the hardwiring changing is to change your habits, to actually build good habits, to build habits that force the wiring. And more importantly, as you build the new habits, you build emotional experiences that are actually good. So your past emotional experiences are so negative in some cases that they impact the way you react to the world now, or the way you feel about it, even though you're not actually doing it. Like just the thought of doing my taxes is so freaking overwhelming. I will put it off for months and months and months and months. In fact, I think I have taxes due here October 15th or something, and it's September 3rd, and just talking about it right now, I'm starting to get this emotional stress reaction, right? My body's going into like flight or fight mode right now because I'm thinking about my taxes. But I got to deal with that in the next 30 to 45 days. Got to deal with last year's taxes because I put it off again. I did a deferral and I put it off because I have this very negative reaction to it. Well, as you build better habits and you force yourself to build better habits, you start to have good experience. You start to have some wins. And those wins produce positive emotional reaction. So you're like, woohoo, I won. I'm great. I'm excited. So now I have positive emotional reactions. Like, for example, 190 days ago, one of the habits I decided to build was to run every day. And I have ran every day for 190 days in a row. I've ran at least 2 miles every day for 190 days. And this has been brutal for me. Talk about completely changing your hardwiring. Completely. I have never been a runner. I have negative experiences with running. In fact, I remember my mom signed me up for cross country when I was in high school, and I went on a cross country running thing, and the coach yelled at me because I was a complete idiot, and I was a complete idiot. But him yelling at me about that and getting in my face really hard really caused a negative reaction, and I quit, and I didn't go back to it. Probably would have been a great healthy thing for me to do just for my life, but I quit because of the harsh negative emotional reaction. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty. I remember that moment when he yelled at me so vividly. I remember the emotion. I bet you that I associate running with that emotion. And so every time I even think about running, I start getting this hostile, emotional, negative response. And even though I know that running is good for you, I've just never done it because of that reason. So I've forced myself this last 190 days to change that wiring, right? I started by running to the mailbox and back, and I felt like I was going to die. Actually, I was at a hotel, and I ran to the 18th green and back. It was like less than 100 yards, and I felt like an idiot for doing it. I look like a lumbering 280-pound dork running out here on the golf course, and people, my fellow colleagues are going to see me out here, this big hippopotamus running down the fairway or whatever. But I did it. And then I came back. And then the next day I woke up and I did it again. And I forced myself. I physically forced myself. And it was agony. But But I did it again, and I did it again, did it again. And after about, it probably took 90 days. But after 90 days of repeatedly running, regardless of the environment, rain, snow, downtown San Francisco, jumping over homeless people, downtown San Diego, I've ran in the cold in Minnesota. I've ran in the hot desert in Phoenix. I've ran, when my family was sleeping on vacation, I got up and ran. Every day I've gotten up and ran at 5-ish in the morning. And now I'm 190 days into it, and now it's automatic for me. I just do it. And not only do I do it, I have positive emotional reaction to it now. I feel good about it. I feel great about it. In fact, I look forward to it because it's a time for me to think, reflect, listen to things that I normally don't get to listen to. And I get that time. And it's become a part of my life. And I've heard other runners talk about this. I've heard people that run for a lot to talk about this. And they've talked about how great it is just physically and emotionally and all this stuff. And I've always thought that was kind of true, but not for me. But I can tell you what, I've changed the wiring. That emotional negative response is no longer there. So I know that you can change the emotional wiring of something. It may not feel like that because it's so hardwired that you just don't want to do it. It's so hardwired that you'll have a million excuses. But if all the empirical evidence says this is a good thing for you to do, then change the wiring. I was talking to a salesperson a couple months ago, and the salesperson was basically admitting that they were generally just afraid to talk to people. And you think it's kind of weird that a salesperson would be afraid to talk to people. But I discovered, everybody's afraid to talk to strangers. We all have some fear on some level of that, doing that. I mean, this is a normal human reaction. Back in the prehistoric days, you wouldn't go talk to a stranger because they could kill you, right? And I think that's kind of still true, but you wouldn't go talk to a stranger because it was a threat. Nowadays, when you talk to some person in a business world, it's not a threat. They're not actually going to kill you, probably. So the reaction to talking to new people is a hardwired, negative, genetic-based predisposition to fear of others. Just not anywhere near accurate, not even near correct, but we all have it. So I was talking to this person, and they're just like, I just can't get talk to new people. I'm really good when I already know the person. When I already have been introduced, then I'm fine. Then I can bug them all I want to, and I'm a really good salesperson. But that first initial contact is always the hardest. And I thought, this is interesting because it's exactly my reaction to running. When I was trying to run, I had this negative, harsh reaction to it, and I wouldn't do it. And I haven't done it for 45 years. But now I'm well past 45, and I'm starting to run now for the first time ever in my life since I was like 17 on that track and field team and did that one cross-country race, and I've never gone back to it. Actually, no, I think I ran a little bit with my uncle, but even then, that was only for a couple of times, and I never went back to it. So now I'm back, and I'm actually running for the first time in my life, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it immensely. I'll probably run for the rest of my life until my knees give out or I die. I'll probably still run, and I can know that because it is a hard-grained, hardwired habit now. So I've been sitting there thinking about this person, this salesperson that was explaining how they were afraid for that initial contact with a stranger, and I thought, this is a hardwired emotional reaction, right? A fear of rejection, talking to new people. It's probably rooted in both genetics, but also rooted in probably experiences and growing up in adolescence. Talking to new people produces a negative thing, and therefore you have a harsh reaction to it. Well, you got to overcome it. And you got to think about this. How do I change my wiring? If my theory is correct, you change it by developing good habit. So every day, you got to force yourself to talk to somebody you've never talked to before, to talk to a new person. And what's going to happen is if you do that every day for 365 days in a row, you are going to discover that it's actually not that bad. And you're going to discover, actually, you get a tremendous amount of benefit from talking to somebody every day, somebody new. In fact, you may find out that talking to somebody new every day might be the single most important thing you've ever done in your life, because the person you haven't met yet will probably have the greatest impact on your life. So if you want to overcome that hardwired fear of first contact with a stranger, then you got to force yourself to do it habitually every day until that hardwiring becomes changed. The emotional reaction is no longer negative. You can do it. You can change this part of your personality. I am absolutely living proof of this. I know it to be true because I've done it now several times. And by the time I'm done with this 365 commitment, I will have absolutely proven in my own life that I can change aspects of my personality that might be negative or might be pre-programmed or hardwired for a negative emotional reaction. And I can change them, and I can change them to be positive. What was my weakness is now become my strength. So where I was never really physically active, I am now very physically active. I've never been this way before. I feel healthy. I feel great. I can actually sit down and do a bunch of push-ups right now without even having a hard time with it. I can run 5 miles like I did this morning, and I feel like I'm okay. I feel like I could go run 5 more. 190 days ago, that would not have been the case. 190 days ago, I would have been passed out upstairs on the couch, gasping for air just by running a mile. And I would have had a negative emotional reaction to it. But now I have a positive emotional reaction to it. And you can change. Absolutely can change. Now, the 365 commitment got me to believe that I had to wake up every morning, and consider what was the most important thing for me to do today, to make today awesome. What could I do to make today awesome? And that's what and what could I do to serve others? And that's what I've been doing every day. And I've been doing it with prayer. Now, I don't know what your beliefs around prayer are. It doesn't matter. Believe in a God or don't believe in a God. The fact is, you sit there quietly for a moment and you reflect on the list and you ask yourself, or you ask God, is this what I should be working on today? And ask for improvements, recommendations. And that still small voice in your head, call it God or call it your subconscious, whatever you want to call it, that will whisper to your soul what you should change. And you'll make the revisions and you'll change your list. And you'll decide, I'm committing today to get that list done because this is the most important thing for me to do. You are making the decision, not outside universe or outside world. Old guy would wake up in the morning and look at my phone. And I would look at news reports, or I would look at my email, or I'd look at text messages, or I'd look at social media. And other people would impact and decide my emotions for the day. And in some cases, it would decide what I was going to do today. My calendar, my emails, my scheduled events, whatever it happened to be, they were influencing me and telling me what to do with my time. No more. I'm now 240 days in, and I am in control of what I do every day. Now, there's outside influences, granted, but before those outside influences are allowed to have a voice, I have my voice first. Now, sometimes those outside voices win. My boss can call me and say, Guy, you need to do this. And of course, he wins, right? In some cases. Not all cases. In some cases, there may be something I decided to do today that's far more important than even what my boss might want me to do. Maybe I made a commitment this morning. I was going to help my wife with something because it was important for her. I don't care what my boss says. I'm doing what I told my boss. I'm going to do what I committed. Or let's say I do believe in God, and maybe God whispered to me that I had to help somebody. That is more important than anything else I could do today. I'll still do what my boss asked me to do, or what somebody important to me asked me to do. But I'm going to get that thing done on my list, because at the end of the day, when I report back in prayer, I'm going to say, I did the thing that I committed to this morning. Now that change of focusing on what was important to me, or important to my family, or important to my organization, or important to people I love or care about, even in my own company, because I've learned to love the people that I work for. And I no longer consider these people as working for me. I consider me working for them. This has been a very, very significant change in my mind. No longer do I look at the people that are in my employment as people that work for me. I work for them. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking, what can I do to help these people? And I fail every day. I fail completely and miserably. But I know that every morning I'm waking up and I'm trying. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to help. I'm really asking the question. And that has changed. So I'm no longer letting social media or other sources impact me in the morning. Just think of what that does to you. You're reading your email, your text messages, your social media, or whatever, and it's triggering emotional responses in you. I'm seeing postings or something from other people, and every one of those people trigger an emotional reaction in me based on my past or based on my preconceived notions, whatnot. And I have this disorganized, scattered emotional thing. I mean, I'm an emotional wreck before 6 in the morning because I've been allowing this outside universe to impact me. It's like, stop. Stop allowing this to trigger your emotions in this disorganized, frantic, scattered state. Take control. Decide what you're going to be emotional about today. Change the wiring. If you sit there and let your phone control you, you're allowing yourself to be hardwired for a disorganized, scattered, emotional roller coaster. That's what you're programming yourself to be. Now, the impact may not be that big after just a year, but give yourself 2, 3, 4, 5 years of doing it. Imagine your child, your 13-year-old, programming her brain and her emotional reaction to every day having this emotional hardwiring of the scattered, disorganized emotional reaction to different events and stories and people before she even rolls out of bed in the morning. That is going to have a negative impact. It's going to. Rather, teach yourself and teach your kids and teach others. Wake up in the morning and decide what's important to you first. Not you go first. I mean, you should definitely put other people first, but what's important to you, the who you love and who you care for and what you have responsibility for takes more priority than anything else out there trying to impact you. So change the wiring. How do you change the wiring? Well, I'll tell you this, it's hard. It takes 50 to 90 days. If you want to develop a good habit that changes that wiring, that emotional reaction to whatever you're dealing with, it takes 50 to 90 days. You want to eat better? The way I did it is I wrote down everything I eat every day. And now I eat better. Just by writing down what I eat every day. I've written down what I eat every day for 100 days or so. For like 107 days now. I've written down everything I eat. And just doing that has completely wired me differently. Before I would eat whatever I happened to eat. And I would always think in my head ahead of time, well, I need to eat better. I need to eat more this or more that or more whatever. But I would never actually do it. Well, now I write it down. And because I write it down, it makes me think about it. And I'm like, ooh, eating those chocolate covered almonds wasn't such a good idea because they had like 300 calories in them and they were kind of bad for me. And that's not going to be good next time. So next time when I go to eat those dark chocolate covered almonds, I'm thinking, maybe not such a good thing. Or maybe I'll only eat 4 of them instead of 10 of them or whatever. The other day I was at a restaurant with my family and we had chips and salsa, which is always a bad weakness for me. Chips and salsa are bad. They brought the chips out and I'd already written down what the calorie cost of chips were. And I knew that I could probably afford around 18 chips. This is real. This is serious. So I actually counted out 18 chips. And those are the chips I allowed myself to eat. Sounds weird. I didn't even think about doing this up until the moment I was sitting there. The only reason I did it is because I wrote it down on a previous restaurant engagement. And I saw the calorie count. And I was like, oh man, I got to be careful with these tortilla chips. They're going to kill me. So, but nonetheless, the fact that I've been writing down my nutritional impacts every day, forcing myself to do that for 90 days in a row. Now I'm in 107 days, and I'm telling you this, I don't even think about it anymore. I write everything I do down. without even thinking about it. It's not even hard for me. It's just second nature now. And that is a good habit. It has changed my wiring. It's also changed my emotional reaction to food. Emotional reaction to me food has always helped myself feel better. I eat because I need to feel better. Bad emotional reaction to food. But now when I eat, I record what I eat. And so when I eat something good, I get to record that down. I get to see how good that was. And I'm like, oh, good job, guy. When I eat something bad, I write it down. I get to record it down. I'm like, ooh, not so good, guy. Changing the emotional reaction. Hardwired. It took 90 days. 90 days of reminding myself. But I'm telling you what, that 90 days of forcing myself to remember to write everything down is going to pay dividends, because I've already lost I was like 265 when I started the consider, measure, record habit. I'm now down to 225, 230. So I've lost 35, 40 pounds just by doing that. Of course, the running helps, I'm sure, but I wasn't really losing a lot of weight by just running alone. It was when I started actually writing down what I ate, that's when it really started. And I haven't made any physical decision to eat better. Never made that decision. I just decided I would write it down. And the act of writing it down has changed. So you can change your hardwiring. You absolutely can. That's the point here. And I challenge you to do so. I challenge you to change your hardwiring. And I think the first step is to follow my 365 commitment, which is to wake up every day and decide what's important to you. I think that's the first step. But you can make your own decisions on that. But that was the best first habit for me. But you can change yourself. You can change that emotional reaction. You can choose the patterns that you follow, and you can deliberately focus on patterns that lead to a good outcome. And I'll leave that with you here on day 240. Thank you.